So these tips that we're giving you, several of them are from the DVDs that we produced, which you can access through the website as well, PoudreRiverGunDogs.com. So let's talk a little bit about this concept of never giving a command you can't enforce, and what does that mean? Where people get into problems is if you don't have your dog in control, okay, you cannot enforce a command. And in fact, what happens is whatever you allow your dog to do is being reinforced, and that's good, bad, or ugly. So if you have to tell your dog 5 times to sit, okay, that's a problem. You need to correct that dog, or you need to teach them what they're supposed to be doing. So if you have no way to enforce that command of sit with a choke chain or a crack on the butt with a whip or any other training tool, there's no point in even giving the command. A more common type of thing is if you are out in the field or in a training situation and you tell your dog to come here. Well, if they're not on a lead, particularly a young dog's out checking things out, sniffing around, looking at the world, and you give them the command here, if you have no way to reel them in, there's no point even giving that command. 9 times out of 10, a little guy is going to ignore you. So you have created a problem, and every time you allow that problem to happen, you are reinforcing that behavior. Keep that in the back of your mind. You reinforce any behavior you allow them to do. And there's a saying that I have, it's called ignore it, expect it. And so what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you ignore behavior like it's not taking place or it doesn't matter, you are actually reinforcing that behavior, so you can expect it to continue unless you create a change. So whenever you give your dog a command, for example sit, you need to have them on a lead. You need to be able to teach them and or correct them when you give them that command. Same thing with here with a young dog. You need to have them on a lead so that you can reel them in if they don't come to you. It's not optional to respond to a command, and you need to teach your dogs that. Another example, even with older dogs, with using an e-collar. If they refuse to come to you, you're going to use pressure. Instead of a tug, you're going to push on a button to give stimulation with a training collar. It's the same basic idea. You don't want to put them in a situation where they have the option of not responding to the command. If you do that, you are going to reinforce that behavior. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're training. Next time your dog blows you off and when you give them a command, I want you to think of these words. Ignore it, expect it. Don't give a command that you can't enforce. And anything you allow to happen is going to be reinforced. These are things you want to think about, especially if you know there's an issue that your dog's doing where you can't reinforce it. The next time you train, think about that even before you go out so you can teach or correct as you need to. And this applies to dogs at any level, whether you're a little pup starting or you're a finished dog running masters, hunter retriever champion, whatever. The concept is the same. So we also have our typical resident expert that wants to share his opinion. Like we told you guys several times before, forget everything he says. Whatever he does, you do the opposite, okay? Anyway, he's apparently a semi-pro something or other trainer, and he wants to give his perspective on these things. And we allow him once in a while, just sort of as a reference and something to compare to, or contrast is the word I'm thinking of. So contrast what this guy tells you and then what we've told you. So why don't you give us some input on what your opinion is about this concept of never give a command that your dog can't enforce?
Well, being a semi-professional type dog trainer that I am, and I had lots of experience with dogs, the thing is what you do is you ask them to do something, and then if it don't work, sometimes you ignore it, or sometimes I bribe them. I give them a little piece of meat or bone or something, say, hey, will you please sit down? And sometimes I gotta feed them like 5 pounds of meat, and they finally do it. Other times I take them, I try to run them for like 20 miles and wear them out on a 4-wheeler and go up and down hills and maybe swim them a little bit. And I don't really think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you, because I mean, sooner or later they're gonna sit down because like they get tired, you know. And then what I do is I just give them the command sit after they feel like sit. And so I think that's pretty much the way I do it. And that's what I think other people should do because it works for me. Okay? Alright, well, yeah, thanks for asking me for my professional opinion. And I'll see you later. Okay, well, thanks for that excellent advice. That's right, guys. Forget everything you just heard. Store that away as things not to do. Okay. By the way, you ever notice that other guy that trains the Poudre River gun dog something trainer? You ever notice how he looks? He dresses a lot like me. He's just trying to emulate me and who I am, and I don't really have a problem with that because what is that thing? Flattery makes your head swell. So I don't really get after him too much because I just figure he wants to be as good as me, and you know, how can you blame anybody for that? It makes sense to me. Anyway, I just kind of thought I'd explain that because you guys might have noticed that, and then, like, I got things to do, so I'll see you later.
We have several other training tips we'd like to share with you guys, specifically on these golden rules of training, and they're going to help you out a lot. Take them, put those tools in your toolbox, pull them out and use them as you need them, and help your dog develop and get off to a good start, and yourself, and eliminate a lot of the frustration that you can have with training. These things are going to help you out. Gary Buys here, Poudre River Gun Dogs. Until next time, see ya.